Wade Robinson took the stand, looked the jury dead in their eyes, told them he shared a bed with Michael Jackson more than 20 times from the time he was a child all the way until he was 14 years old. And he said nothing remotely close to those accusations ever happened. Now, years later, Wade Robinson filed a lawsuit saying Michael Jackson sexually abused him for years. But we're going to get there. Because before we talk about the verdict, we need to talk about everything the prosecution put in front of that jury first. And some of it, I'm going to need y'all to sit down for. Welcome back to Crown by Kenzie. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and if you are new here, welcome to the royal community. We have been breaking down the Netflix documentary Michael Jackson, The Verdict all week, and today we are closing it out with episode 3. If you have not watched 1 and 2 yet, I'm going to need y'all to go and do that first because this is a 3-part series, and today is the finale. Links will be in the description. But everybody who has been here from the beginning, let's get into it. The prosecution brought in former Neverland employees, people who worked there, people who were inside those walls every single day. And what they described, I need you to understand the weight of what they are saying. Now, Ralph Chacon, a former security guard at Neverland, he testified that one night while on patrol by the pool, he came across Michael Jackson and Jordan Chandler, both naked. He alleged that Michael was caressing the boy's head and performing oral sex on him. Now, a former maid alleged she found Wade Robinson in the shower with Michael. A former chef testified that Michael was playing the game Thriller with Macaulay Culkin and that Michael's left hand was inside Macaulay's pants. The kids that were consistently around Michael, Wade, Macaulay, Jordan, Chandler, and Brett Barnes, and none of them would speak against him. Blanca Francia, a former maid, her son Jason, who was then now an adult, took the stand. He was a youth pastor, around 8, 9, 10 years old when these alleged incidents happened. Jason alleged he was abused by Michael 3 times. He described it as hands outside his clothes on his genitalia for about 2 cartoons worth of time. Now, Diane Diamond stated that when Jason walked into that courtroom, Michael turned around to look at him and snapped his head back quickly. And she noted Jason said the exact same things in their interview 3 years prior. The staff said they never came forward because they felt no one would have believed them. They also stated Michael never had any adults in his bedroom the way he did the children. Now, here is where I need to pause and give y'all my honest reaction while watching that. Okay. If these former employees witnessed all of these alleged situations, then they should have been charged as accessories to these alleged crimes. I guarantee that would have changed their minds. Because why speak now that you're no longer an employee? For me, there is nothing in this world, no amount of money, that would make me turn a blind eye to a child being harmed in any shape, form, or fashion. Simply saying you felt no one would believe you, that is not enough. You should have tried to make them believe you. But I also agree with the defense. These are disgruntled employees with an axe to grind. And I agree with juror Melissa Hurd. They were money hungry bitches. When people are accustomed to being on a gravy train, y'all, and they get kicked off for whatever reason, they become pissed because that ride is over. And now it's back to normal every day, possibly broke ass life. The housekeeper sold stories to hard copy for $20,000. Juror Melissa Hurd, I agree, money hungry, and she was not wrong. Now, let us talk about these mothers because I have some things to get off my chest. June Chandler, Jordan's mother, took the stand as the 51st witness to testify against Michael Jackson. She described traveling the world with Michael, her son Jordan, and her small daughter. She called it a whirlwind existence. She testified that at the end of March 1993, they were in Vegas and Michael came to her crying, trembling, y'all, saying, allegedly, "We're supposed to be a family. You don't trust me. Why won't you let Jordan be with me?" And she said, "What do you mean he is with you?" And Michael said, "Well, why not in my bedroom?" This woman said he was trembling, saying we were family. Jordy is having fun with me. Why can't he sleep in my bed? There's nothing wrong. There is nothing going on. Don't you trust me? And from that point on, she allowed it. Jordan always slept with Michael, even after that. She alleged Michael spent the night more than 30 times at her home in Santa Monica, in Jordan's bedroom, a room with only one bed. She also testified she had even not seen her son in 11 years. The prosecution believes Jordan blamed her for not protecting him, that Jordan felt she got diamonds while he got abused, but because allegedly Michael gave her an expensive Cartier bracelet. Juror Melissa Hurd said she started to believe because Michael paid off this family. Is he guilty? Now, here's how I feel. In the beginning of Jordan Chandler's investigation with the LAPD, the detective did state Jordan was living with his father, which explains why the mother may have testified she had not seen her son in 11 years. Now, for whatever reason, she did not have her son is beyond me. There are a multitude of reasons a child goes to stay with the other parent when parents are divorced. But here is where my problem comes in. If what she is alleging is true, that Michael came to her room crying about her 12-year-old child not being able to sleep in the bed, I would have been kicking that ass all over Vegas. You hear me? And the fact that she didn't think anything was weird about that, a grown man crying to you about your 12-year-old son not being able to sleep in his bed, and then you obliged and allowed it to happen, not just that night in Vegas, but 30 sleepovers later, either this bitch is lying or she sold her son. Which is it? And if these allegations were true, then here's another one that needs to be locked up and thrown away. Because now you are an accessory to a crime as well as you should have been charged with child neglect. Now let us talk about Janet Arizo. The prosecution described her as a very complicated woman. She had 3 kids when she was very young, lived in poverty in a one-bedroom studio, had a very violent and abusive husband. And they said all of that affected how she viewed the world. Insecure, conflicted, emotionally traumatized. She testified she was kidnapped and told they had to hide her at Neverland to keep her safe from the media. She testified she witnessed Michael Jackson licking her son's face. And then in the courtroom, she shouted, now I know that Neverland is all about booze, pornography, and sex with boys. Don't miss that moment. Write it down. But here's what the defense found. They did some background investigation and discovered a case against J.C. Penney where Gavin was shoplifting, and when security stopped him, a melee ensued, leading to Janet Arvizo filing a lawsuit saying the security guard molested her in the parking lot. They were paid $152,000. But why were they still on welfare? My reaction in that moment, oh, hell no, case over. They are used to doing this. She pleaded the Fifth Amendment on welfare fraud. Juror Melissa Hurd now believes she was out for money. Diane Diamond stated each day of court, Janet was a different person. One day, very meek. The next day, very mad. The next day, very sad. You never knew what you would get. She was pointing at jurors, saying, put yourself in my shoes. Don't judge me. Juror Melissa Hurd called her Janet from another planet. A news reporter said, today we went from Neverland to Fantasyland. She was described as the worst possible witness for the prosecution and also a walking reasonable doubt. Now, it seems to me at this point, the trial should have been over when the J.C. Penney lawsuit and the welfare fraud came out with the Arvizo family. It now seems that the prosecution was grasping at straws and pulling anyone that had an ounce of an issue with Michael into that courtroom. The judge should have kicked it out. The defense called Wade Robeson, Brett Barnes, and Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay told Michael's attorney, Mr. Oxman, that he would tell them 1,000 times that Michael is innocent. He called the allegations absolutely ridiculous. Brett Barnes said the same thing. Wade Robinson said he met Michael at 5 years old, shared a bed with him more than 20 times until he was 14, and he never did anything remotely close to those accusations. Juror Melissa Hurd said Wade convinced her that Michael never did anything like that. They described their time at Neverland as magical. Well, in 1993, in an interview, Brett Barnes and Wade Robeson both said nothing ever happened. The prosecution was so frustrated they could not break Wade. Cherie Wilkins stated they even got to the point where they said, you know what? Maybe you were asleep when he did these things and you can't remember. And the audience gasped because, as she said, y'all that desperate? But then the prosecution introduced two books, Boys Will Be Boys and Something the Boy. And according to Diane Diamond, Wade Robinson sunk down in his chair as if those books affected him. Remember that moment because Wade Robinson later filed a lawsuit saying Michael Jackson sexually abused him for years, beginning when he was 7 years old. The same Wade who convinced the jury, the same way who said 1,000 times nothing happened. Now, I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm telling you what happened. Debbie Rowe, the mother of two of Michael's children, who had given up her paternal rights, came back. She said Michael had not paid alimony in 2 years and would not allow her to see the kids. She called him a sociopath. Now, the biographer spotted Debbie at a steakhouse, allegedly, the night before she was set to testify, at a table with the prosecution, very animated, taking notes. They were in a huddle. But when she walked into that courtroom, she looked at Michael, he looked at her, and the biographer in the film stated he watched her flip. Her emotions came out, and she said on the stand, Michael, I think the world of you. The prosecution said that she told them something completely different from what she said on that stand. They cut that testimony quick. Diane Diamond noticed Debbie looking at Michael as if she was saying, please just look at me one time. But Michael kept his head down. 45 days, 85 witnesses, and the prosecution finally rested. 7 to 8 days of deliberation. Juror Melissa Hurd said she was nervous. They took a poll in the juror room. Half believed he was guilty, the other half did not. She described the deliberation room as heated, emotional, and intense. So intense people could hear them on the outside. And in the parking lot, it was the same. Half the crowd believing in his innocence, the other half against it. People arguing, throwing chairs with each other in the streets. The jury came back and told the judge they were at a standstill, but judge said, oh no, we ain't doing a mistrial. Y'all gonna sit y'all butts here and y'all gonna work it out. And then photographers caught a long lens picture of Gavin and Star Arvizo at a store buying snacks. And then the news broke that a verdict had been reached. The boys looked scared and they quickly jumped on their bikes and pedaled home. The biographer said a sheriff told him, now, when this verdict comes back that your friend is guilty, we're going to rush his ass out of this courtroom so fast, it's going to make your head spin. Talking about Michael. Now, my opinion, that's very telling. They had it out for Michael. Michael's security, Carrie Anderson, found the scripture, Isaiah 41, verses 10 through 13, and gave it to Miss Catherine Jackson. And when Carrie Anderson was talking about that moment in this documentary, he broke down. He said it takes him back to that very moment. Now, the crowd outside, when the verdict was about to be read, they went quiet and silent. Count one, not guilty. Count two, not guilty. Count three, not guilty. All the way through 10, not guilty. And the crowd went, wow. Everybody was hugging. Sheree Wilkins, she was so overcome, she passed out. And Diane Diamond, she's still standing on it. She said, it never said he was innocent. It just said he was guilty of the charges. There's a difference, girl. Juror Melissa Hurd said Michael looked at her and said, and bowed his head. She said she felt like I'm just doing my job. Carrie Anderson said when they got back in the car, it was quiet, and he noticed Michael just lean his head back, and exhale like it finally set in. Wow, I am done. I'm a free man. But the biographer said he had this romanticized notion that Michael Jackson was about to get his life back until Michael's manager, Frank DeLeo, said, you don't get it. This is life-ruining for Michael. He will never recover from this. Sadly, Michael Jackson died 4 years later. Now, the Arvizo family has not spoken publicly since. And someone, I think his name is Vincent A. Mann, says something at the end of this documentary that I want to leave you with, because I think it is the most honest thing said in all 3 episodes. This was a trial about Michael Jackson and molestation charges, but it was also a trial about the world's most fragile obsession, the obsession with fame, celebrity, and status, balanced with the suspicion of an icon. And those things, those two things collided right there in the courtroom. Now, before I let you go, I need to talk to you, not as the host, but as Mackenzie. This series, these 3 episodes, have brought a lot of you here for the first time, and I am truly grateful for every single one of you. The royal community has shown up and showed out, and I see y'all in the comments, and I feel you too. But I need you to know something about this channel before we decide whether you're staying or you are leaving. Crown by Kenzie is not just a Michael Jackson channel. Okay, guys? Michael Jackson is a topic we covered because it is one of the most layered, most debated, most complicated stories in celebrity history. And when something like this Netflix documentary drops, we're going to be here to break it down, give you the facts, and give you an unfiltered opinion. That is what we do here. But this channel covers all of it: celebrity reality TV drama, the stories behind the headlines that nobody's really talking about, honestly, the messy divorces, the court cases, the moments where fame meets accountability. If it is happening in the world of celebrity and it deserves a real conversation, oh, we're going to have it right here. So if you came here for Michael Jackson and you're thinking about leaving us because the chapter is closing, I want y'all to stay because the next story we cover, oh, you're going to want to be here for it. I promise you that. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. You're already part of the royal community. If you made it this far, like this video if I gave you something to think about today. Share with somebody who has been debating this verdict for 20, I was about to say 30, but 20 years, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Also, if you would like to support this channel and see it grow, please check out my ebook, Prenups, Postnups, and Power Moves, a simple, honest guide to money, protection, and power in relationships. The link will be in the bio and in the bio, I'm sorry, in my link tree, as well as in the description. Your support through the likes, views, and comments have really been so amazing. And the support of purchasing this ebook, oh, that would just be icing on the cake. Also, I'm starting to build my Amazon store, so when I'm finished, I'll make sure to let y'all know. Thank you all for everything. And until next time, stay crowned royals.